Cleopatra, a name that echoes through the millennia, was more than just an Egyptian queen. She was a woman of power and influence, a figure of inspiration and intrigue that has captured the imagination of historians, artists, and storytellers alike. Born into the Ptolemaic dynasty in 69 BC in the heart of Alexandria, Egypt, Cleopatra's story is one that has been told and retold, yet it still remains shrouded in mystery. Cleopatra was not just a queen, she was a symbol of strength and defiance in a world dominated by men. In a time when women were often relegated to the sidelines, she stepped forward, carved her own path, and left a mark on history that is still visible today. From her legendary beauty to her sharp intellect, from her political savvy to her romantic relationships, every aspect of Cleopatra's life has been scrutinized, debated, and often romanticized. Yet beneath the layers of myth and legend there was a woman of flesh and blood, a woman who faced challenges and hardships, who loved and lost, who ruled and fell. She was a woman who, despite the odds, rose to power and held on to it with tenacity and courage. Cleopatra was a shrewd and ambitious ruler, a skilled diplomat and a visionary leader. She was a woman who dared to dream and dared to act, who dared to defy the norms and expectations of her time. And while the tales of her beauty and her romances often overshadow her accomplishments, Cleopatra was more than just a beautiful queen or a lover of powerful men. She was a woman of substance, a woman of vision, a woman of action. She was a woman who used her wit and her charm, her intellect and her ambition not just to survive, but to thrive in a world that was often hostile to her. But who was Cleopatra before she became the queen? Cleopatra, born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, was groomed for leadership from a young age. Born in Alexandria, Egypt in 69 BC, Cleopatra VII was the third of 6 children born to King Ptolemy IV and his wife, Queen Cleopatra V. Her early life was marked by the opulence of the royal court and the turbulent politics of the time. As a child, she was immersed in a world of political intrigue and power struggles. She was educated by the finest scholars, learning everything from philosophy, literature, to the art of governance. Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy IV, was a weak king, and his reign was marked by political instability and economic decline. When he died in 51 BC, the throne was left to Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy X, who was just 10 years old. This was a common practice in the Ptolemaic dynasty to maintain the royal bloodline. But as was customary, Cleopatra, who was now 18, was married to her brother, becoming co-rulers of Egypt. Cleopatra was a breath of fresh air in the Ptolemaic dynasty. Unlike her predecessors, she embraced her Egyptian heritage and was the first in her family to learn the Egyptian language. She also adopted many of their religious beliefs and customs, presenting herself as the reincarnation of the Egyptian goddess, Isis. This endeared her to the people, who saw her as their true queen. But Cleopatra's early reign was far from smooth. The young queen faced numerous challenges, both political and personal. There were revolts, economic difficulties, and even a powerful court faction against her. Being a woman in a largely male-dominated society, Cleopatra had to fight for her place, her power, and her kingdom. Despite these challenges, Cleopatra held her own. She proved herself to be a capable and cunning leader, navigating the treacherous waters of politics with grace and determination. Her intelligence, charm, and political acumen helped her to consolidate her power and win the hearts of her people. Unbeknownst to her, Cleopatra's reign was about to be challenged, setting the stage for her legendary status. Cleopatra's rule was marked by political intrigue, seduction, and alliances that would change the course of history. This Egyptian queen was not only a powerful ruler but also a shrewd diplomat who knew the art of securing alliances. Her first significant alliance was with none other than Julius Caesar, the mighty Roman general. Their relationship was more than just a political alliance, it was a love affair that resulted in the birth of a son, Caesarion. With this union, Cleopatra hoped to solidify her power and secure her throne. But the death of Caesar marked the end of this alliance and left Cleopatra in a precarious position. Yet Cleopatra was not one to be easily deterred. She found another ally in Mark Antony, a prominent Roman politician and general. Their alliance was forged in the crucible of shared interests and mutual attraction. Together they had 3 children: Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus. This alliance, however, was not looked upon favorably by the Roman Senate, causing a rift that would lead to war. Cleopatra's alliances were strategic. aimed at strengthening her rule and expanding her influence. She used her relationships to secure the future of Egypt and its Ptolemaic dynasty. Her alliance with Caesar helped her regain the throne from her brother, while her relationship with Antony was an attempt to create an Eastern Mediterranean empire that would rival Rome. But these alliances also had a significant impact on the Roman Empire. The union with Caesar brought Egypt closer to Rome, while the alliance with Antony divided the Roman Empire and led to a civil war. These relationships not only shaped Cleopatra's reign but also left an indelible mark on the politics of the ancient world. However, these alliances were not without their pitfalls. They made Cleopatra many enemies, both in Egypt and Rome, who saw her as a threat to their power. Despite her best efforts, her reign was fraught with political instability and military conflict. Cleopatra's alliances, however, were not enough to keep her on the throne. Despite her cunning and charisma, Cleopatra's rule was destined to face challenges that even her strategic alliances could not overcome. The final years of Cleopatra's reign were marked by war, loss, and ultimate defeat. Cleopatra found herself embroiled in a civil war, her brother on one side and her on the other. The conflict was a complex one, a struggle for power that would determine the future of Egypt. As the war waged on, Cleopatra sought help from Rome. She had established strong ties with the Roman Empire through her relationships with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony. However, Rome had its own internal struggles, and the support Cleopatra hoped for was not forthcoming. Instead, Rome saw an opportunity to extend its influence and control over Egypt. The Battle of Actium, a naval confrontation that took place on the Ionian Sea, was a pivotal moment in Cleopatra's downfall. Mark Antony, Cleopatra's lover and ally, led the Egyptian forces against Octavian, the future first emperor of Rome. The battle was fierce and the stakes were high. Unfortunately for Cleopatra, her forces were defeated. This loss marked the beginning of the end for Cleopatra's reign. Following the defeat at Actium, Cleopatra retreated to Alexandria, her capital. However, the respite was short-lived. Octavian, now in control of Rome's armies, turned his sights on Egypt. He invaded Alexandria, marking the final blow to Cleopatra's reign. Cornered and with no options left, Cleopatra made a decision. She would not allow herself to be paraded through the streets of Rome in defeat, a trophy of war for Octavian. Instead, she chose to end her life on her own terms. It's said that she died from the bite of an asp, a venomous snake, thus bringing an end to the Ptolemaic dynasty and marking the beginning of Roman Egypt. Cornered and defeated, Cleopatra chose to end her life on her own terms. Her death marked the end of an era, but the legacy of Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, continues to captivate us even today. Cleopatra may have fallen, but her legend rose from the ashes, immortalized for generations to come. The death of Cleopatra marked not only the end of her own reign, but also the conclusion of the Ptolemaic dynasty, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Her demise was as dramatic as her life, a supposed suicide by a venomous asp, adding yet another layer of mystique to her already enigmatic persona. With her passing, Egypt became a province of Rome, ending an era of independent Egyptian rule. Yet in death, Cleopatra found a different kind of immortality. Her story has been told and retold, shaping her legacy in ways that likely would have astounded even her. She has been cast as the romantic heroine, the cunning strategist, the ruthless ruler, and the tragic figure, each iteration reflecting the values and preoccupations of the age in which it was created. Cleopatra's influence extends beyond the realm of history and into the world of pop culture, where she continues to captivate imaginations. She has been portrayed in countless films, books, and works of art, from Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra to Hollywood blockbusters. Her iconic image, though often far from historical accuracy, has become synonymous with power, beauty, and seduction. But perhaps the most significant part of Cleopatra's legacy lies in her ability to challenge our understanding of history itself. She forces us to reconsider the narratives we've inherited, to question the stories we tell ourselves about power, gender, and identity. She reminds us that history is not merely a collection of facts, but a complex tapestry of perspectives, interpretations, and myths. So, as we reflect on Cleopatra's life and legacy, it's clear that she was far more than just a queen. She was a figure of immense complexity and contradiction, a woman who defied the conventions of her time, and a legend that continues to evolve even today. Cleopatra, a queen, a lover, a legend. Her story continues to captivate us, a testament to her enduring influence.